All right. Thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon for our Bystander Intervention Power Hour. This is a real vital piece to sexual violence prevention. And so we wanted to highlight this during Sexual Assault Awareness Month this April. So I'm going to start us off with a real quick video and then we will jump into it. And DeMarie, I'm going to need you to let me just make sure my sound's on. Okay, hang on. Share screen.
Hey, where are you going?
I think I just need to lie down.
That's okay, we can find somewhere.
No, I need to go home.
Trust me, you'll feel better after you lie down.
Sorry, excuse me, can I... Oh, I'm so sorry. I think I've just spilled water on you. Do you want to go to the toilet and sort it out? Yeah, come on.
Freya, we're about to get a cab. Do you want to get in our Uber with us?
Mate, it's time for you to leave. Do you need a cab?
I'm good, thanks. I'm gonna walk.
Okay, so in this video, that's just kind of an intro to kind of show you what we're going to be talking about today as far as bystander intervention goes. And we're going to be discussing all the methods that they use, plus some extras. Sorry, y'all.
It's amazing how stuff changed. So something that I realized I was being...
Sorry about that. Okay, so for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Melissa Prentice. I'm the Outreach Education and Prevention Coordinator for Bay Area Turning Point. I've been here for 11 years. I currently provide outreach education and prevention services to staff and outside agencies, including schools. And we educate youth on healthy relationship behaviors. We're trying to create positive change in our communities. And then I'm also the point of contact for any presentations or trainings for the public and professionals. I do serve on TASA's Sexual Assault Survivor Advisory Board, as well as the Governor's Sexual Assault Task Force as a member on the Survivor Center and Safety Planning Working Groups. So some of our objectives today, we're gonna define what a bystander is. We're gonna become familiar with the different types of bystanders. We're gonna understand what the bystander effect is, define what bystander intervention is, learn how to safely intervene, and display an understanding of what strategy is best in a given situation. So what is a bystander? A bystander is a person who is present when an event takes place, but they're not directly involved. So you have active and passive bystanders. An active bystander is somebody that witnesses the situation, decides that they need to do something. So these are the people that speak up, they step up, they do something about it. The passive bystanders are those that witness the situation, but they don't do anything to help. And there's numerous reasons why, which we're going to discuss later on in the training. So, oops, sorry about that. So, bystander intervention. This is a situation where someone is not directly involved and they decide to step in to change the outcome of a situation. So, some of the components of bystander intervention, we have awareness. You increase your awareness to understand when a situation is about to happen. So, you increase those skills. You increase you heighten your awareness. Sense of responsibility. That's where you feel like it's your job to step up and do something. You feel responsible for helping this person out that's getting into this situation. There is perception of norms, and we'll discuss that a little bit more detail later. But what that is people often think that others are less willing to be supportive than they really are. So people do want to help, but they're not sure if that's the right thing to do. You weigh the pros and cons. So is stepping in going to, is that going to risk your safety? Is that going to risk the victim's safety even more? A lot of times people are looking at, is that going to risk my relationship with the harasser, or the people that are involved are people that are friends with the harasser or with the victim? Building confidence to be able to step in. Of course, you want to build skills, knowing how to safely intervene. And then there's also the context piece. So this would be, sorry. So this would be knowing the resources to call if you do need to intervene. For example, the police, or if you need an advocate to come out. So there are a lot of times whenever we hear the ways to intervene safely, we've heard of 3Ds before, but there are actually 5. So we're going to go over those 5. So the first one is going to be distract. Give me one second. Sorry, my internet just does not feel like working with me today. So distract. We saw this in the video. The girl walked up to the harasser and she spilled her drink on him and then pulled the victim aside, or the potential victim aside. So that is one way to distract somebody. You can make some sort of commotion. Go up and ask the victim or the harasser what time it is, or put yourself between the harasser and the target. So this is an active way, a direct way to intervene without causing any additional risk to the target. Delegate. So this is getting help from somebody else. So if it's at work, you can find a supervisor. If there's a friend around and they're closer to the situation, or they're in more of a position to help, then you can ask them to distract the harasser. You can find somebody to talk to that may be in a better position to help, or you can call 911. The next one is documenting. So this one, you definitely want to make sure that you are assessing the situation before you pull out a phone or anything to record. But oftentimes we do see these videos that go viral of somebody harassing another person or assaulting another person. And we sit there and we're just like, well, why didn't they help? Well, sometimes it's not possible for them to help. Sometimes they feel like their safety may not be at risk. They may not have the confidence to help, but they can pull out their phone and document the incident. Sometimes we think that that's not a good way to go about it. The first thing you need to make sure of is somebody else helping them before you do that. We do say, do not post these online. Don't turn it over to anybody. Don't send it to anybody without talking to the target first. So if somebody's just been harassed or attacked and you recorded the incident, go over to them afterwards and say, hey, if you want to press charges, I just got this entire incident documented on my phone. Would you like for me to send it to you? Or would you like for me to send it to the police? Ask them what they want to do with it instead of just posting it, because that can increase the traumatization of what they just went through. And then make sure that the times and dates are documented so the person can turn it over to the police if they do decide to press charges. So then there's delay. Again, sometimes you're not able to intervene right at that moment. So after the incident, you can go over and ask them, hey, are you okay? Hey, how can I support you? You can take them to the police station or to the hospital or to somewhere where they feel like they're going to be safe. Let them know about resources. Make sure that you are familiar with the resources that are available in the area and share those resources with them. Offer to make the phone calls if they're not comfortable with it. And again, if you documented the incident, ask them if they want you to send it to them. And then we have the direct method, which is what happened at the very end of that video. The young man came up and said, hey, you need to go. Do you need a cab? This is where you really want to make sure that you're assessing your own safety first. And we're going to go through some scenarios later, but you really want to make sure that it is safe to do so, that it is safe to intervene. But some examples, this is inappropriate. You need to stop. Leave them alone. It's time for you to go. And this is another one that is racist, that's sexist, that's homophobic. If somebody's cracking a joke, it's not funny, it's not okay. So this is where you are directly stepping in and speaking up. So any questions before we move forward? All right. So some tips to remember, whatever method you decide to use, make sure you try to keep that person calm. Gather the information that led up to the incident. That way, if they do feel like reporting it, you can help them piece everything together. Look at options, provide support, know the appropriate resources, look for a safe exit. Just because the incident is over does not necessarily mean it's safe to get up and go. Be clear and direct with the person that was just harassed or attacked. Make safe choices for yourself and make sure that you're engaging others. You don't want to be the only one involving yourself and getting yourself hurt as well, because that not only, again, does that hurt yourself and put yourself at risk, but that puts the victim at more risk too. So some other intervention strategies. These are more if you know the person. So I statements. We always talk about I statements. I feel, how do you feel whenever they're doing a certain thing? When you do this certain action, I need you to, and then you state what you need them to do. I statements are very, very powerful. Silent stare. I joke around because my mother used to do this to us all the time. We called it the death stare, but the silent stare is staring at somebody in a firm manner to let them know what you're doing is not right. Humor, sometimes that can be used to diffuse the tension, but also be careful you're not mocking the person and make sure that it's an appropriate situation to step in and use humor, because sometimes that's just going to tip them off even more. Bring it home. If somebody's making inappropriate jokes or treating somebody inappropriately, ask them how they would feel if that happened to their mom or to their sister or to their best friend that's a female or to their own child. And then the non-critical caring gesture, we're friends, right? So I'm going to tell you, this is not okay what you're doing. So this is where I'm going to ask everybody to kind of jump into the chat. What stops us from intervening? We have fear and uncertainty. Safety, yeah. Uncomfortable, absolutely. What else? Any other ideas before we move on? We're going to talk about more. We're going to talk about this more. Lack of knowledge on how to intervene. Not knowing what to say. Yeah, absolutely. Unsure how the victim's going to react. Yes. Unsure if what we're seeing is what we're really seeing and minding our own business. Absolutely. So that's kind of what we're going to get into next. The bystander effect. So this is the phenomenon in which a greater number of people present, the less people are likely to help a person in distress. So we all know the famous Kitty Genovese case in 1964, where the woman was followed home from work and stabbed to death multiple times. And this attack went on for half an hour, and there were, 38 people that did nothing. There was one person that finally stuck his head out the window and said, "Hey, you need to go." Now, the term came from this incident. If you look a little bit more into it, you'll see that it wasn't 38 people that were sitting there doing absolutely nothing. There were several that called the police. There were several that said something. Of course, nobody came out and directly intervened, but Kitty did end up passing away, and this is where the term comes from. So, in order to kind of give you an idea of more of an idea of what this looks like, I do have another short video for everybody, and let me get it pulled up on my screen.
Wow, look at this. 94% of people believe company culture is important to an organization's success.
Paradox of human nature, the more people there are in a group, the less likely anyone is to offer help. It's called the bystander effect, and it may be a roadblock that's keeping you from showing empathy. When someone is in need, people in large groups tend to feel that they don't need to do anything because someone else will take care of it. This is known as the diffusion of responsibility. The end result is nobody does anything. And if you don't believe me, I'll show you. We started with a large group of 10 people and told them they were here today to see a product demonstration. So we're just basically looking for emotional reactions to certain products. We're not quite ready to go yet. So as you can see, you have these surveys. Go ahead, start filling them out. Take all the time you need with them. I am going to go get the product and just kind of start throwing it together, and then we're going to begin. Sound good, everyone?
Okay.
Cool. Thanks. Here's the thing, though. Everybody but one of these people wasn't in on it. We gave her a 10-minute window where she could offer to help. Let's see if she comes to my rescue. We repeated this a few more times with varying results. Come on. That didn't sound good. Next, we tried it with a group of 5. Oh, jeez.
Do you think you're allowed to do
that? So far, it's not looking good for people in general. Are we just plain unhelpful, or is there something to the bystander effect? To find out, let's see how helpful people are when they're all by themselves.
Hi.
The results? With our group of 10 people, it took our participants an average of 8 minutes and 1 second before they lent a hand. Excuse me, thank you.
Can I help? I just feel
thanks.
bad.
Participants in our groups of 5 were a little quicker, saving me from the tent with an average time of 7 minutes and 25 seconds. I'm okay.
Do you need help?
Do you want to give me a hand?
Yeah.
That'd be great, thank you.
What can I do?
But when our participants were by themselves, that is when they really shined. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. On average, they offered to step in just 3 minutes and 19 seconds. You were the fastest by a country mile. I have set this thing up by myself 7 times today.
That makes me sad.
You took a total of 12 seconds. Why do you think you're so quick to do it?
I like to help in any way that I can.
That's the funny thing about the bystander effect. You would think that a group with more people would mean there's a higher chance someone would do something. But people in a group are actually less likely to help.
I knew I should have just stood up and done it, but then a big part of me wanted to see what these people would do, and I was just kind of like, are any of them gonna help?
At first, I was a little shy to jump in and help, but then after a while, just like, I'm just gonna jump in and help.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Sorry it took 8 minutes.
When it's just the two of us in a space, there's like a bond that's created that's like, well, I'm not gonna let you struggle on your own. And I think if there is a group of people, it's way more acceptable for me to be doing that.
It's the diffusion of responsibility.
I think that's totally true.
If something is saying jump in and offer to help, just follow that intuition. Even if no one else is saying anything, just, hey, if you can be a part of helping someone, instead of just watching them struggle, or even take out your cell phone and like tape it or something like that, which is the worst, just offer some help.
So, now that you know about the bystander effect, ask yourself, how often do you feel like you should help someone but don't because you think somebody else will do it? Maybe next time, you will be that somebody.
Pancake.
Okay, so what are some of the reasons why people didn't step up and help in the bigger groups? And y'all can put those in the chat. They're nervous, yeah. Someone else will do it. Maybe if it was wrong to help, nobody else would. Okay. Let's see. They thought somebody else was going to do it. See if somebody else would do it first. Waited to see what other, unsure of surroundings. Good. So yeah, some of the reasons why people don't intervene is, for one, diffusion of responsibility. Let's see, conscious of being judged or being judgmental towards the situation. Yeah. That's also kind of plays into the conformity. You see everybody else not helping, so it's like, oh, well, then maybe it's not appropriate for me to help. Willful neglect. Sometimes people just don't care to help, and I mean, unfortunately, I hate to say it, there are people out there like that. But yeah, these are all reasons that that go towards the bystander effect. Why you're not going to intervene. So. Why is it important to intervene, though? Sometimes you can change the outcome of the situation. Oftentimes, you can change the outcome of the situation. It does help people change the way that they think about their role in sexual assault prevention. Like I said at the very beginning, this is a vital piece of sexual assault prevention. Once people start stepping up more, whenever they see something going on, the more likely it is that people are going to stop doing it. It can change the perception of norms. More people want to put an end to violent or sexual violence than we really think do. Nobody wants to see it happen. They just don't know how to go about preventing it. And then this can also make sure that resources are available to people that are victims of sexual assault. Naila, you brought up a good point. Some people are raised to mind their own business. And whenever it comes to sexual assault, so that also goes with another reason why people don't intervene, which is social and cultural identifiers. Part of that is some cultures tell you, mind your business. Some social settings tell you, mind your business. So that is another reason people won't intervene. So some do's and don'ts of intervening. First, you want to make sure you're keeping both of you safe. You don't want to put either of you at risk. Make your presence known to the victims, or somehow make yourself known as a witness. Let the person know, I'm here, I'm seeing this, and then look for cues from them on what to do. If they look like they're wanting you to physically or directly intervene, a lot of times victims are not going to want you to put yourself in harm either. So look for cues from them on what to do. And then don't escalate the situation. Of course, going back to what we've been saying the whole time, assess the situation, assess your own safety first, and then don't do nothing. Even if you can't directly intervene, there's the other D's of intervening. So you can, if you can't distract them, you can delegate somebody else to do it. You can document the incident, or you can talk to them afterwards. You can delay your reaction to it. You can talk to them afterwards, provide them resources, help them with that recovery piece. So now I'm gonna let everybody unmute their, or not unmute, you can unmute yourselves and turn your videos back on. We're gonna go through some scenarios. So you hear yelling, screaming, and before we go into these, I do wanna say these are all real life scenarios that I have actually heard from people or witnessed myself. So these are not just things that I pulled off the internet. You hear someone yelling, screaming, banging, and crying from the home next door to yours. What do?
You can call the police.
Call the police.
I have called the police.
Well,
Call 911. What could be some advantages? What could be some pros and cons to calling the police?
Pros is you're basically keeping yourself out of harm's way, and you're still doing something about the situation and not putting yourself in the middle of it. The cons could be it could not be that serious, and now the police are involved, which could possibly escalate the situation. And if there's a victim, it could cause additional victimization in the future.
Absolutely.
a pro would be like you're getting professionals involved in the dispute. One of the cons is that sometimes the police take a minute to get there. And if it is a really serious situation, then somebody's life is in severe danger.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. What happens if the police get there, assess the situation, and they don't do anything? They don't make anybody leave. They just take the incident report and go.
You did your due diligence. You still did something about it.
You did.
And then if you hear it again, you can call police again.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah, and I know people that this has happened to, and a lot of times they're going to make the they're going to make the abuser leave, at least for the night. That way the victim can get out of there, or have somebody come stay with them. Okay, anybody else have input on this one? Now, before we go to the next one, I just want to share this disclaimer. This has not happened at Bay Area Turning Point. These are previous jobs that I held in college that this did happen at. So you hear a colleague talking about a high profile rape case, and your colleague is blaming the victim. What do?
I would correct them.
Okay. Correct them, absolutely. Now, do we just want to correct them, or John, shut it down? Yes. Ask for clarity on why they feel that way. Good. And then, us being the subject matter experts that we are at this now, we would probably educate them, right? Let them know why we should not be blaming the victim. That was just one that I thought about because I remembered it happened at like a part-time job that I was working in college, and it made me really upset. So I wanted to get everybody else's input on that one. Next one. Well, out for happy hour, you see a man and his girlfriend arguing. The argument is getting heated, and you see the man pick up a stool. He looks like he's going to hit his girlfriend with it. What do you do?
I would get management, or in high school, I stepped in front of somebody, that wasn't a smart thing to do. But I would get somebody who can help.
Mm-hmm.
Grab Jason and throw him in the middle of it. Okay.
Yell, good. So this is actually a scenario that I was told by a friend of mine recently that she witnessed. And she's not a big girl, but she saw it happening. There wasn't a bouncer around to stop it. And so she intervened. She directly intervened and told the guy, you need to put that down, you need to go. And she asked me if that was the right thing to do. I said, did anybody get hurt? She said no. I said, okay, now was that, I was like, was there potential for you to get hurt? She's like, yes, I should have gone and gotten a bouncer, but Kat said it perfect. She was thinking on her feet. She wasn't thinking about, I need to go get somebody. Thankfully, people were very close by. The guy was removed from the place. But yeah, so this is where you kind of have to think a little bit before you jump in, because you got to think about, again, your own safety first. What if I step in the middle of this? Am I going to get hurt? Is that person still going to get hurt? And then the last one. You're with a group of friends and somebody makes a rape joke. Everyone is laughing except for you and your friend who happens to be a sexual assault survivor. What do you do?
Tell them that's not funny.
No,
and
it's
tell
not
them
funny.
why it's not funny.
Do what?
I would tell them why it's not funny.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah, absolutely. Tell them it's not funny at all. But be John and shut it down. Yes. Tell them why it's not funny. What else? What else will we do in this case?
I think you have to be careful in that, because you don't want to put your friend on blast, but you would also try to speak to both parties separately somehow, would be the ideal way.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Good. You definitely don't want to put your friend on blast.
And when I say tell them why, I'm not saying I would say my friend. I usually use myself as an example. I would be like, you never know who's experienced what. So it's important to be conscientious about what you say and how you say what you say, because it's not okay to make a joke like that. Mm-hmm. That's just like saying rape is okay, and it's not.
And if everybody's laughing, like they're laughing at your expense, not even like your friend's expense, like at your expense. And so if you would educate a stranger or a coworker, I think it's even more important to educate the people who you actually have pull with.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of look at this one a different way. I mean, of course, us being sexual assault advocates, we would want to intervene. Think about somebody who might not intervene and think about the reasons why they might not. Can we think of any reasons why somebody may not intervene in this situation?
They may be triggered by it.
They could be triggered by it.
They don't want to be seen as like a snowflake or politically correct or whatever.
Yep. Going back to the conformity. Yeah. Conforming with the rest of the group, not saying anything, just going with it. Anybody else have input on this one?
Melissa, I think it's just like we were talking about earlier that, we were taught to not get in other people's business. Yeah. Okay. So, I think as advocates, we're part of the population that would probably stand up to someone but just your ordinary Joe Blow on the street, I don't think they are as eager to jump into something like that.
Absolutely right. Yeah. So, and that's part of why this is so important to know, so we can let people know, so we can be the models of it. We can model that behavior, and then people see, oh, well, it actually is accepted to jump in and stop the situation. So this is a real life situation. Again, I was a person that was in a group of friends that I was with, cracked a rape joke. Everybody was sitting there laughing. I straight up immediately was like, that's not funny. What in God's name makes you think that a rape joke is okay? And I did the bringing it home strategy. I was like, what if that had happened to your daughter? I was like, would you think it was funny? And so, that pretty much shut it down real quick. Everybody just kind of stopped laughing and changed the subject. And he's like, sorry. He didn't really seem sorry. And then a friend of mine came up to me later and she said, thank you so much for doing that, because I'm actually a sexual assault survivor. So yeah, that is the sad part. They know a lot of sexual assault survivors, but they think that a lot of people still think that you can use humor whenever it comes to rape. And bottom line, it's not funny at all. So,
Melissa?
Yes.
I think you can use this just like you could a racist joke.
Exactly.
Okay? I mean, it's the same scenario. It's not appropriate.
Absolutely. Yes, this comes into play whenever it comes to sexual orientation, race, anything, disabilities. It's not just rape jokes. This just happened to be the exact scenario, but yeah, you can use that strategy with any of those scenarios where people are making terrible jokes that don't need to be made. All right, so I have one more video for y'all to kind of close this out. I saw this and I absolutely loved what this person had to say. So I wanted to show y'all, and one second. We can stop it at that level and show them that is not okay. Even a joke, then anything worse is obviously not okay. Exactly. Oops, let me get out of it. And just a second, y'all. Okay. Here we go. Okay, apparently having some connection issue. One second. One second, y'all. Having a little connection issue over here. All right, DeMarie, I'm going to stop sharing so we can see if you can pull it up. All right, COVID life. We don't have sound.
You might have to stop share and go back
Yeah.
and click the share sound button.
Can y'all hear it?
Yeah, can you turn it up a little?
Yeah, I'm gonna start it over. Sorry, guys. I was on mute.
Madison said, "COVID life."
How's that?
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., in a 1968 speech where he reflected upon the civil rights movement, stated, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." As a teacher, I've internalized this message. Every day, all around us, we see the consequences of silence manifest themselves in the form of discrimination, violence, genocide, war. In the classroom, I challenge my students to explore the silences in their own lives with poetry. We work together to fill those spaces, to recognize them, to name them, to understand that they don't have to be sources of shame. In an effort to create a culture within my classroom where students feel safe sharing the intimacies of their own silences, I have 4 core principles posted on the board that sits in the front of my class, which every student signs at the beginning of the year. Read critically, write consciously, speak clearly, tell your truth. I find myself thinking a lot about that last one, tell your truth. And I realized that if I was going to ask my students to speak up, I was going to have to tell my truth and be honest with them about the times where I failed to do so. So I tell them that growing up as a kid in a Catholic family in New Orleans, during Lent, I was always taught that the most meaningful thing one could do was to give something up, sacrifice something you typically indulge in to prove to God you understand the sanctity. I've given up soda, McDonald's, French fries, French kisses, and everything in between. For 1 year, I gave up speaking, thinking the most valuable thing I could sacrifice was my own voice, but it was like I hadn't realized that I had given that up a long time ago. I spent so much of my life telling people the things they wanted to hear instead of the things they needed to. Told myself I wasn't meant to be anyone's conscience because I still had to figure out being my own. So sometimes I just wouldn't say anything, appeasing ignorance with my silence, unaware that validation doesn't need words to endorse its existence. When Christian was beat up for being gay, I put my hands in my pocket and walked with my head down as if I didn't even notice. Couldn't use my locker for weeks because the bolt on the lock reminded me of the one I had put on my lips when the homeless man on the corner looked at me with eyes up, really searching for an affirmation that he was worth seeing. I was more concerned with touching the screen of my Apple than actually feeding him one. When the woman at the fundraising gala said, "I'm so proud of you. It must be so hard teaching those poor, unintelligent kids," I bit my lip because apparently we needed her money more than my students needed their dignity. We spend so much time listening to the things people are saying that we rarely pay attention to the things they don't. Silence is the residue of fear. It is feeling your flaws, gut-wrench guillotine your tongue. It is the air retreating from your chest because it doesn't feel safe in your lungs. Silence is Rwandan genocide. Silence is Katrina. It is what you hear when there aren't enough body bags left. It's the sound after the noose is already tied. It is charring. It is chains. It is privilege. It is pain. There is no time to pick your battle. When your battles have already picked you, I will not let silence wrap itself around my indecision. I will tell Christian that he is a lion, a sanctuary of bravery and brilliance. I will ask that homeless man what his name is and how his day was, because sometimes all people want to be is human. I will tell that woman that my students can talk about transcendentalism like their last name was Thoreau. And just because you watch one episode of The Wire doesn't mean you know anything about my kids. So this year, instead of giving something up, I will live every day as if it were a microphone tucked under my tongue, a stage on the underside of my inhibition. Because who has to have a soapbox? when all you ever needed was your voice. Thank you.
When your employees feel connected, appreciated, and supported, your business becomes more than a place of work. It becomes a work of art. And we can help you create your masterpiece.
All right, so what did y'all think about that video?
It was awesome.
I saw that during something. I was actually just searching videos and I saw that and I figured that that was a very, very powerful video. So I wanted to close with that, and everybody can unmute, turn your cameras back on. Let's talk about this. How are we going to use our voice moving forward?
Thankfully, I can say I always use my voice. So I'm grateful that I don't allow myself to be silenced, and I'm confident with myself at the age that I am now. I'm very secure in my thought processes, so I always use my voice, but I also make sure that when I do use my voice, I'm speaking correctly and it sounds intelligent and it can be received in the way that I intend for it to be received. Because it's a lot about not just what you say, but how you say what you say. So there's a lot of intentionality in using my voice to ensure that it's heard and that what I'm saying is communicated effectively.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Speaking with intention. Anybody else can think of one way you're going to use your voice? I mean, like we've been talking about, we all use our voice in one way or another, but after leaving here today, is there something you're going to do differently with your voice?
I think, Melissa, I might be more aware of my surroundings. I think if you're just paying attention or if you're in the moment, maybe you'll hear something or see something that is a little odd or out of place.
Yeah, absolutely. Raising your awareness. And even if whenever you are building these skills, because I mean, this is something fairly new to a lot of people. So it's going to take some skill building. So while you're building those skills, it's always good to have somebody to kind of bounce ideas off of. Say say it's just, for example, say you're in that happy hour situation, you see a couple that looks like somebody looks uncomfortable. You look over to your friend, hey, does that person look uncomfortable to you? Do you think we should go say something to the bouncer? Even something as simple as that. Or to management, or should we grab a police officer? Anybody else?
I've also learned working in the environment that we work in, sometimes using your voice, something as simple as a compliment. Like when I go to shelter, I'm always complimenting people. I compliment our clients all the time on the smallest things because sometimes that one compliment can change their world and it can help them start rebuilding the confidence that they feel like they lost. Because a lot of times you deal with a lot of insecurities. I know being in shelter and you experience a lot of shame. So using your voice to uplift, to motivate and encourage people doesn't always have to be something big. Just saying, oh my gosh, that top is so cute. It matches your complexion perfectly. Oh, I love your nails. Your child is so respectful. It was an honor working with your child today. So those little things, they speak volumes. And those are positive ways that we can use our voice. It doesn't always have to be something, profound, but those things are profound to individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, anybody else? All right. Let's see. Okay, we can stop recording.